Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 423 of DrunkNerds podcast. Most as always, I'm Tyler. Joining me with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sir Colonel Gables. What's up, buddy?
Let me tell you, Tyler, I'm doing fucking amazing. After watching a couple of the WrestleMania matches from night one, I mean, hell, gives me a little bit of excitement for night two. Now, granted, I only watched maybe like a handful of stuff, but the last match that we both saw before recording, Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, that was a fantastic match.
Mm-hmm.
That end, the whole hair whip thing and stuff by Bianca Belair, and then seeing the aftermath of that, not just the aftermath, but the sound of her hair cracking against the skin of Sasha Banks.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
sheesh.
the I got Peacock, the streaming service for WWE WrestleMania, and we sat there and we just watched the last like hour and a half or so, and yeah, the last match was it was awesome. First time two women main eventing at WrestleMania. First time two black people in main eventing at WrestleMania, and had an awesome match. And Bianca Belair, if people don't know, don't watch wrestling, she has like this braided hair that is like legitimately like 5 feet long, and it's real hair. It's not a weave. It's nothing. It's like it's her real hair, and she fucking whipped Sasha Banks with it so hard that it sounded like like you said, Indiana Jones whip with the whip. And they showed the Sasha Banks after the match. She had a giant welt across her entire stomach and her side because that's how hard she got hit. Man,
That
it was,
just made Bianca Belair.
yeah, yes, that one fucking whip. That was yeah, that was an awesome match. That was a
That was her defining moment there, because
yeah.
you could say like a couple of years ago with Becky Lynch and stuff getting busted open by Ronda Rousey. That
Mm-hmm.
was a great moment in and of itself. More iconic of her character becoming known as the Man. But for Bianca Belair, with that moment right there, that's going to solidify her as not only strong in regards to how physically strong she was,
Mm-hmm.
but or is actually, but also in terms of how her hair can be used as a weapon.
Yes, yeah, that was impressive. Yeah, yeah.
uh,
I mean, like you and I, we don't watch wrestling anymore. Well, I don't. We
Not
don't watch
really
WWE
as
anymore.
much as what we did.
Yeah, no, yeah. We used to be people. We watch 10 hours a week of wrestling now.
Mm.
We just don't watch any except for we jump in for the big shit. So, but it was fun. It was the first time 1 month. It's been 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day since the last time WWE had fans in attendance, and
Mm-hmm.
they had 40,000 people in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium, which it's awesome to see, but it's like we're still in that weird in between phase of vaccines, and we're on the downside of COVID, which is awesome,
We
but
are.
it's just I don't know, it's still jarring to see. It's like it's cool in one hand, but it's also kind of gives you it's like makes you uneasy at the same time. It's like the thought of me going into like a crowded bar right now. It's like I just love to go sit down and have a beer with Justin or whatever in a bar and just have a food, but it's like at the same time it's like it's just it's a little scary. But yeah, I don't know. It was still an awesome match. I enjoy it for the most part. I enjoyed this night one of WrestleMania. Um, but Gables, how are
Yeah.
you, buddy? How's your weekend?
Dude, my weekend's been doing fine. I mean, just finished up the extent of plowing through the past couple days of work because we had one person, no, we had these guys come by at least a couple days in a row. They're cleaning out a hoarder's place, right? And so we got 3 truckloads full of good Christmas stuff. I'm talking about ornaments, I'm talking about like decorative ornaments, I'm talking about like bulbs and stuff. Quintessential from like the 1960s all the way up until current year. So it's been 3 days of me at work processing all of this Christmas stuff because I want to get it out of the way and out before I even have a chance to do anything else. Good job security for this week.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have been gaming plenty. I have been honestly, ever since I bought this PS5 that I've got, I have been checking through, been gaming a lot more than I thought I was going to. But at the same time, what I'm also doing is I'm creating a list. I'm checking out a lot
Twice.
of the games
Oh,
on the PS3, on the Vita, on the PSP, seeing what digital games I want to invest into because I know The deadline is going to be July 2nd for the PS3 and for the PSP stores, and for the Vita is like August, so summer. So what I'm basically doing is I'm checking out sites like Amazon, eBay for any of the physical stuff. And I can tell you right now, Vita games, like some of the more sought after ones, Gravity Rush, Muramasa Rebirth, those games exponentially are going up in price because people want to buy them and they're not really as easy to find. However, since I own a lot of that stuff digitally because of the whole PlayStation Plus initiative back when the Vita first came like out, yeah, I still got the games like Gravity Rush, Uncharted, Golden Abyss, and stuff like that. But my main focus is narrowing down what games I want to get, how many games I actually do want to get, because I know I'm not going to get any. I know I'm not going to get a lot of the stuff because I don't have that much funds in that regards. But yeah, just checking out what is and what I can do is definitely interesting. And I'll tell you what else is interesting. Going through the PlayStation 3 storefront just before we started just before we started doing Skype and stuff, I was browsing through, clicked on one page, go on to the extra like DLC content or whatsoever, and it takes like almost a minute for things to load in, and I'm like,
Oh
oh Jesus fucking Christ,
yeah.
I did not remember this thing being that slow.
I remember last year bitching about was it last year? Yeah, or about this time last year,
Mm-hmm.
when I got my tax turned back, and I
Mm-hmm.
was gonna just pre-order a bunch of games. So I'm like, I got the money. I'm gonna pre-order a bunch of shit now. And this
Yep.
is on PS4 Pro, and
Yep.
I physically could not get, not physically, but I digitally could not get into the PlayStation Store on the PS4 Pro to
Mm.
fucking pre-order games. I'm
Yep.
trying to give PlayStation money, and it wouldn't load. It would get errors, or it would take forever to load in, and then like each page would take you like a minute to load. It took me like 20 minutes to pre-order 3 games.
Oh my
I'm,
God.
one of them was
Yeah.
Cyberpunk, and the very next day it got delayed. So
Yeah.
the first time it
That's
got
right.
delayed, the
That's
first of three
right.
times it got delayed in that year. So
But yeah, I was going to the PS3 store. Things were taking a hell of a long time, and they have not maintained that store for who knows how many years now because it wasn't their focal point anymore.
yeah.
So there are obviously a lot of errors. Like there's actually a section that's called the top selling PS4 games, and one of the other things like a Mass Effect trilogy for the PS3 release. But oh, gosh, they don't have a good job in terms of sorting out what they have for PS1 classics, for PSP and stuff. Because here's the thing: for one classic section, you have PS1, PS2 classics, and PSP all mixed in on one, along with those obscure PlayStation Minis that they had going along, and then you have PS3, and then it's supposed to be like a separate thing, like for PlayStation Vita or whatsoever. But it's just quintessentially labeled a bit differently, but there's a lot of the same content that are on
Mm.
each tab. And so it takes you like about 20 minutes just to sort through the entire fucking list because not only do you have to sort through, but the things have to load up in order to show what things you that are actually available. So it's definitely fucking cumbersome considering that Sony in and of itself closed the options to buy digital content on their storefront on the PC through their website. So
Oh
we
my
have to
god, I forgot about they got rid of that last year. Forgot about
they
that.
got rid of it last year. So you cannot buy PS3, PSP, or Vita games through their own website except for their own storefronts that they're going to be closing. So that's a little bit of a gripe and a half from me so far. But at the same time, man, it's essentially been business as usual. How have you been doing?
Better now. It's supposed to be more impressive. I was trying to do it with one finger and it didn't work. Um, but no, I'm doing okay. It's been a long week, but it's exciting. I didn't have to work today. It's Saturday,
Hey.
which is awesome. I don't have a second job anymore, which is awesome. As my own choice. Um, Put my notice in a while back, and I've been dragging the last month when I made the decision to quit my second job. Just been dragging myself to get to this like weekend, and it was just like getting off work yesterday was just like awesome. And it's been like I woke up today and I was like, oh fuck, I gotta be at work soon. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't have to be at work soon. This is awesome. But no, I'm doing pretty good. It's not nothing too amazing going on with me other than that. Been chilling at home is nice. I had like today I did all my cleaning. I got all my shit out. I got all my shit done. Um, so I don't have to, like, so Sunday is gonna be a super lazy day, you know. Laundry's done, cleaning's done, dishes done, like, so it's gonna be a fun day tomorrow. Well, not really a fun day. It's just gonna be a very lazy day of me sitting on the couch, um, which I'm very much looking forward to. Um, but yeah, other than that, I'm doing fine. Nothing too crazy going on. Oh, I thought it was kind of funny. I saw in my Facebook, like, memory thing,
Yeah.
about, it was like the anniversary, I think, like last weekend or sometime this week, of the it was the anniversary of me doing the Mario Kart tournament on the big screen at the basketball game in the Wells Fargo Arena in here in Des Moines, and I fucking made that one kid cry. So in the so where some people find their superpowers in weird ways, um, and Invincible, the new awesome show on Amazon Prime. He throws it back. He goes to put a trash bag in the garbage can, ends up throwing it all the way to Texas. I found out mine playing Mario Kart against children, and making them cry. I found that was my superpower, was destroying kids at Nintendo games. Um, you know, um, not
That makes
everybody
me
can.
laugh.
Yeah, not everybody can have cool powers like me. Some people got to be Aquaman that talk to fish. Some people got to be fucking me that makes kids cry playing Nintendo games. So, I mean, we can't all be cool. I'm like, here's like Superman and Batman and me. Here's Flash and like Cyborg, and then there's Aquaman, and then but I'm all the way up here with, like, I'm in like tier one of Justice League, and they're way down here. But I'm doing okay. Other than that, that was a little pick me up, little perk when I'm like, oh, yeah, I made that fucking kid cry in front of his mom, and a bunch of people at the basketball game. So yeah, uh, I'm going to hell. That's gonna be my personal hell is gonna be when I die. I'm gonna go to hell, and it's just gonna be me playing those kids in the Nintendo games, but now they're full grown adults and they're whooping my ass. Is what's gonna be.
No,
It's
what's
like,
going to happen is you're going to have a kid one of these days, right? Maybe like a son or a daughter, and they're going to consistently beat you at the game.
yeah, it's gonna be that kid's son or daughter. Like, he's gonna come back when I'm like 50, and that kid's now 10, and this kid's like, he's like 30 something now, and he's like, hey, remember when you made me cry in front of 20,000 people at a basketball game? Well, my 10-year-old son's about to make you cry, and it's gonna be like a full circle thing where it's this whole thing.
It's the circle of life, Tyler.
Yeah, and then it's gonna be like, yeah, like, yeah, the universe will come back around to me here. Karma will come back, and then I'll cry about something, and I'll be hit. But that, until that day comes, I'm gonna ride the lightning of fucking making kids cry at Nintendo games. And that's my calling card. You know, Joker's got a Joker card. I got a GameCube controller I carry around with me, and it's got tears of children soaked into it. I'm collecting souls like Sing Song from fucking Mortal Kombat, but they're tears of children.
This is just so horrible.
I just thought of that. This is great. I don't know if his name. I can't remember if it's Shang Tsung or not, but I'm gonna go with it.
Shit, so it's like, oh god, dude.
I'm like, your tears are mine. And I'm gonna put my Waybird underneath him as he's like on his hands and knees crying as with that because he just
He
lost in
gains
Mario
more
Kart.
strength than the powers of the children's tears.
My Waybird doesn't take batteries. It takes children tears.
And your controller's just smoking every time you play it.
That's what gives me the advantage. It's modified. Oh fuck! I don't know where this is. I don't know how we got there, but this is where we're at now. Um, wow. Okay. But yeah. Welcome to the DrunkNerds podcast, everybody. If this is your first time listening, I don't apologize for any of that. I should probably, I meant to tell you this before. Earlier, I was going to talk about it. That was not really an important thing. I had coffee about 20 minutes before we got on the Skype call, which has been about an hour and a half now since then.
Yeah.
So I'm a little more jazzed than usual. Usually we record Sunday night, and it's like, it's the end of the weekend. I get up early, and I'm like,
Yeah.
like I'm on that downward, like I'm like rest mode's kicking in, and it's Saturday night. I'd have to work today. I got more energy. I drank fucking coffee earlier. Like, I'm a little more wired, and I've been drinking this delicious all day IPA. So I've been drinking for about hour and a half now. So I'm already like 5 beers in. So it's gonna be a good time, Gibbs. I'm gonna have fun tonight. I'm gonna get ranty later which will happen. But
Hey.
it's gonna be a good old fashioned 30-minute Tyler rant. So prepare for that, everybody. But anyways, Gables, jumping
Hmm.
into we'll do what we're gonna finish off a game we've been talking about the last 2 weeks
Hmm.
that you and I have been playing together. People that don't know, we've been
Okay.
playing It Takes Two. We've been playing it the last 3 Fridays. We finished it last night.
Yep.
I streamed it on our Twitch channel. Gables and I did, but I put it on our YouTube channel. So go to youtube.com and search for Drunk Nerds, and you'll find it. My awesome Photoshop job I did of us from It Takes Two. But part three's up, and you can see us finally finishing the game off. It took us probably about 10 hours, I want to say, altogether to beat it.
Yep.
But we beat it. We went, felt like almost about 1 o'clock my time last night. But I don't know, Gibbs, what overall thoughts on this game? How are you feeling on it?
If there's something I can compare the game to, it's quintessentially sort of like that slow type of burn type of experience and stuff, to where eventually just tries to go through to like a crescendo towards like the end portion of the game itself. In a way, it kind of felt like that playing through the first initial parts of It Takes Two, where you're kind of building the dysfunctionalness between both of the characters and stuff, the husband and the wife and stuff. And then you introduce some of the little bits of elements here and there, like say what they used to do for their past careers, or how they first met, or even in terms of how like in and of itself, like their kid plays a role in them not going through and enjoying certain aspects of what
Mm-hmm.
they're doing, and then
Kid
leads
sucks.
to an appreciation and stuff. But honestly, I feel like the experience overall for It Takes Two was well done in a sense where it presented what it needed to present, which was fixing the relationship between the husband and the wife. But at the same time, it was definitely felt like there was a lot of padding in between. Like, this kind of felt like a game that should have been more like a 5 or 6 hour experience, in my personal opinion. Because here's the thing, it just felt like to me from the onset that they inserted a lot of random stuff they were thinking of at the time when they were developing this game. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of creative level design, which that's a definite positive. The gameplay in and of itself was fine. I mean, I didn't like a lot of the combat stuff because a lot of the combat stuff kind of felt
Yeah,
stiff in
yeah.
some
Specifically
retrospects.
the garden level, the second to last level, where yeah, like it was
Right.
you had like the whip thing, and I had the fucking scythe thing. Well, I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, I mean it was just like it was constant and it was repetitive and it was not fun.
Right. I like the idea that the last couple of chapters before the end of the game and stuff, it's like you have to go to the husband's sort of dream thing, it was like the whole garden area, and then you have the
Mm.
wife who's like basically like a musician, like a singer sort of aspect and stuff. I like the idea of that, but then going and playing through the garden section and it kind of being more monotonous and more combat focused than even like some of the past previous chapters, that was kind of a turnoff in and of itself because it kind of presented things feeling a little bit longer than what it should. But the music stage, like the final stage in the
Yes.
game, that I felt like was a well done experience because you had a lot of creative uses of like instruments where you had to transverse through the level, and then all of a sudden you were like going across a keyboard, or you're sliding across like a guitar or a cello or
Mm-hmm.
whatsoever, and then
Or
like
drums.
with drums in that regards, encountering enemies where it's basically a microphone that looks like a gigantic snake. It definitely there was some creative character designs, like enemy designs inside of It Takes Two. The game actually is kind of littered with that. There is definitely a bunch of dark moments I kind of felt, or surprisingly dark. And one of the things that Tyler and I were commenting on last night, because Tyler brought it up, it's like, what would be funny if like she actually goes, the daughter actually goes through and just goes away or something like that, and it plays the series theme for the Incredible Hulk, like
Yeah.
not the series theme, but like the end theme of that
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk, where it's like do 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 do,
Yeah.
and
Incredible Hulk's hijacking down, trying to hide or not hijack. How's it
high hitchhike.
hitchhike? Yeah, he's trying to hitchhike, walk, going on the road, and is playing the super sad music. And I'm like, that'd be the perfect ending of the game as Rose runs away, and it's just her hitchhiking, and she leaves because like it was like as the game was like because the parents aren't good people, but it's like as it's like they start talking, it's like man we haven't done like because one of the levels is like there's like the last 3 levels we did was like there's a snow level, there's the gardening level, and there's a music level. Right, so the the first level we did on the final playthrough is them on their like their last vacation they did where um, what's the husband's name? Cody. Cody.
Cody, yes.
Cody proposes to May, and it's their last vacation. And
Hmm.
they have this wonderful time, and it's just about them like re-experience that. It's they do weird. Every level takes like it's weird and all that stuff. But then like they talk about, oh, we haven't gone on a vacation since Rose was born, or we haven't done this since, and they talk about like him. And the next one is like gardening. He like they moved to this house in this area so he can, because he wanted to be a gardener and grows and grow his own stuff and everything, and he lost the passion for it. And it was like as they were talking, I'm like, man, this daughter is like, I think the daughter's a problem. Like they're fine, just the daughter ruined everything. So really the end of the game should just be they get rid of the daughter, and then they'll just live happy ever after. Obviously, that didn't happen.
No.
But at one point, I got really excited when the daughter Rose like ran away, and I'm like, oh, like because I made that joke like an hour before before her running away actually happened, and then it happened. I'm like, yes, oh my god! I mean, I knew like, deep down it wasn't gonna happen. I was like, what if they do it? And they didn't do it. Like
Oh,
they go get her.
I was laughing because I saw like the daughter going walking through like walking away from the house. Like, you know what? I'm just gonna go somewhere else. It's like she was running away or some sort of shit while the parents were sleeping and stuff.
Yeah,
But the exact experience felt great in that regards. The whole co-op stuff was fine. A lot of good memorable moments. In terms of replayability, obviously the game was structured to where you were kind of left to seeing everything there is to see without even any need of going back. So I felt like the developers did execute that point well. If I had to give it a grade in regards to how I felt the game deserved, I felt like it was definitely a B or a
mm,
high B in that regards. There
that's
were
fair.
some great moments, a lot of fun, like a lot of fun, creative, like level design aspects in terms of the co-op. I felt the co-op was the strongest point into that entire game. I definitely thought that a lot of the excess boss battles and the whole what the fuck moments that happened throughout that adventure was definitely a good positive stuff. A lot of the co-op stuff, the mini games and stuff were pretty fun. It's like either we would play specific games. Sometimes we play best of five or best of whatever and stuff.
Yeah,
Like one person would destroy the other in some contest and stuff. Like I would dominated like Tyler in some, and then Tyler would actually go and dominate some others and stuff. So I kind of felt like that it played off like from our strengths and weaknesses too.
yeah.
But it was definitely a fun experience to not only to beat this game, but to see what needed to be seen. I think we only missed like one mini game, and that's it.
Oh no, we missed a shit ton of mini games.
What?
There's like 30
Really?
mini games in this. I was kind of looking at it. We only did like 10 of them. There's a lot.
30 mini games?
There's a lot of mini games. Some of those levels had like 7, and we found like 2. It's nuts.
That's
Um,
ridiculous.
yeah. So I mean, most of the mini games are like they take a minute or two. So it's like, but like, we did the chess one, which that was like legitimately like 10 minutes for to play one game. I'm like, all right, we
That was our
like
longest mini game thing where
yeah
we just did like once.
yeah, we're just like, you know what, we're done. A couple of them that weren't very fun, and it was our like, you just like whipped my ass so bad. I'm like, I don't even want to play that. I don't even want to do it again. It was just, you won. It's fine. But yeah, like I mean, but they were always like short enough that even if they weren't great, that we just move on. And there was always,
Mm,
I think for them, like they hit way more than they missed. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm in that same boat. Like like the BB plus, like like kind of like an 80 to like or like an 8 out of 8.5 kind of range, on a scale of
right.
10. Um, but yeah. I mean, it's kind of what I've said already, where I feel like this is like a really well done. It's not Mario. I'm not trying to say it is a Mario like on that scale, but it's like a really well done version of what we love about Mario. Where like I said before, where it's like especially like you look at like a Mario Galaxy or something like that, where like
Mm,
you do a level or you get this thing and you have this for a little bit. They add this mechanic. You're a rock now, and you use this rock mechanic, and you do
right.
it a handful of times, and you move on. You got a new mechanic, and they do it well enough. Like there are like so many games with just make a game around this one mechanic, and it's like we see all the time like Mario just like, nah, we're gonna have 20 different mechanics, and they're all like 17 are gonna be awesome, a couple are gonna be okay, and there's gonna be like one bad one. And this one there's
Right.
like, I mean, I think there's like 9 levels, so there's say 9 mechanics in this game. When I was talking to you about last night, I feel like 5 were really good, 2 were okay, and then like couple, and then the other 2 were like, all right. But like it's like I said, like even the ones that weren't great or they weren't fun for long, like super long, like each level's 40 minutes to an hour long, so it was like
Yep.
even if you didn't really have you weren't like enjoying the sections so much, like the gardening section, I think there were some really cool moments in it, but like that was probably our both of our least favorite section, just because like the moment to moment wasn't as fun. But like I said, there's some of the coolest moments are in there. But I think we both agree that the music level was our and the tree level with the squirrels and the bees was our two
Hmm.
favorites. But I think
Yes.
that even that we both agree the music one kind of dragged on a little too long. But
Yeah, it did.
I'm with you on the because like I think A Way Out is a better package, beginning to end. But I think uh, It Takes Two is a much better game. Like
Right.
if you were to ask me which one I'd rather play again, just because of the fun factor, I think It Takes Two because the actual like platforming, the working together, all that is just way more fun. Where It Takes Two
Right.
is more like it's more of a cinematic experience kind of thing. Where yeah, you're definitely doing stuff, you're working together, but it's definitely like you play it through once. Maybe you could play through it again with somebody else, but from the other perspective, I guess. But like, there's
Right.
not neither one of these games has a lot of replayability and like, but yeah, like I really really enjoyed this game. Like I mean, it's like the things we complain about are very small, and like I said, like yeah, it probably took us 9-10 hours to beat. It Way Out was like I think like probably around 6. We beat that in 2 sittings. I want to say it was probably 5.5 to 7 hours long. Um,
Yep.
but I really yeah really really enjoyed this game. I liked this game a lot. Uh, I think that what makes A Way Out better in a lot of ways is the characters and the story was much better. We like those characters were like they weren't good people, but we enjoyed them. And it's like the
Right.
characters in It Takes Two, we just like when it got to the cutscene, some of them were just like I don't it's kind of the way I felt at the beginning. I'm like I don't really care about these like the daughter kind of seems to suck. The parents aren't very good people. The book ended up being like my favorite character in the game. When in the first half I couldn't stand him, and then the second half I'm like, he legitimately was making me laugh. I'm like, no, this guy like, I don't know if it's just I hate the other character so much that I started to like him more, but like, or maybe
Yeah.
the jokes got funnier in the second half because like some of the shit he was doing was making me laugh. Like he was legitimately funny to me. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think it's a fantastic. If you have someone to play it with, and like I've heard a lot of people like because it's more of a romantic comedy type of game, so I hear a lot of people playing it with their partners, um, and like people like their partner doesn't play the game, doesn't play games or whatever. Like I don't know if like that would seem frustrating to me if I was playing it with like like a partner that doesn't play games, like that might because like I mean it's a simple game but simple for us. I feel like some of the stuff you do like it's a lot of timing. Like I don't know how I don't think I'd have the patience to explain it to a person some of the shit that we had to do like especially like some of the wall jumping where you had to like you had to like make the platforms for me while I'm in midair and all that
Right.
like I said the game was I mean like the game wasn't super hard. There's definitely chunks where like you got to think a little bit or like okay trial and error but yeah I never felt like we were like completely like all right we're fucked kind of stuff or this is really really hard
Right.
but yeah I like I said this is I keep going this is a great game like I'm now sold on whatever Joseph Ferris does like A Way Out I thought was incredible this game is even better and it's just like I now have no doubts and you made Brothers before this but I never played but I played a little bit of but I never went back to and I heard that game is phenomenal. Um, so whatever he does next, I'm all on board for. So, yeah. Uh, and just real quick, I've only played one other game. I played the Oddworld Soulstorm,
Right.
which we were talking about last week. It's a PS Plus game I was actually kind of looking forward to, and I think it's like a $40 game. It was a PS Plus game for PS5 this month in April. Um, and I'm really happy it was a PS Plus game. I didn't pay for it because I probably would have bought it like day one. Otherwise, I played through the tutorial and I've already installed it. I've uninstalled the game
Really.
already. I did not like. I've never played Oddworld. Be fair, but I was playing this game and I was just like I was like just irritated and not having fun. Not in like a hard way, but I was just like. So the tutorial section is like this is like it's supposed to be like all right explain how the game works. I know it's not gonna be fun, but I was like frustrated by the mechanics of this game. Like it's a 2D platforming side scroller puzzle solving game,
Right.
and so it was like probably a half an hour to play this game. So take it with all this with a grain of salt, I guess. It might get way better after this, but like the first section was like after the opening cutscene was like the place you're in that like there's fires breaking out. You have to like get water bottles and you have to like precision throw these water bottles to like kill the grass, and the fire isn't growing. You just gotta kill. You gotta take out the fire that's directly in front of you to keep going. And it's just like you're going, stop, going, stop, and it's like to a screeching halt. And it's like I don't know, I was kind of maybe I had my expectations wrong about what this game's gonna be, but I was just like playing. I'm just like I'm. This is just irritating. Where it's like I'm every 30 seconds I have to stop, throw 10 water bottles and hit them precisionally, and then you have to like jump up on the ledge above you. But you got to like it feels almost like PS1 era. Like you have to like precision jump to grab the ledge that's above you, and it's like if you miss, you could fall, and then you gotta fucking go back. I don't know. I just felt like it just was not connecting for me. I was like I don't know. I was a little like
Right.
there was no puzzles. Like if you know if I had to go to like a screeching halt, like figure something out, okay, that's fine. I get that. There's some puzzles here, like Limbo, Inside, things like that, like or Little Nightmare, shit like that. It's like, all right, cool, like in those kind of games. But it's like this, I'm like, all right, there's a fire in front of me, so I gotta throw them. Oh shit, I'm out of water bottles, and I gotta backtrack to go fucking loot some more barrels, throw more fire or throw more water bottles to fucking kill this fire, and then jump up on this platform, go to this section. Oh, I jumped, I missed the platform, I fell down, I gotta jump back up, back up. Oh, there's another fire in front of me, and I gotta throw more water bottles here and kill this fire. I mean, this went on for like 20, 30 minutes, and I was like, I'm done. I don't want to play this. I'm not having fun. It's like I know, like it's like I said, tutorials are never like usually awesome experiences, especially in like I'm like unless it's like a grand like AAA game, but it's just like this is the terrible first impression for
Sounds
for
like
me,
it.
for I don't know, I it just didn't connect with me. I haven't heard, there hasn't been reviews out yet. I haven't seen, I've just been hearing this is like a 7. I heard a lot of people kind of like people that do talk about it. Seems like it's kind of getting that 7.5 kind of treatment. But so maybe that's what the game is. Maybe it's just not for me. But I didn't really enjoy it. But Gables, what have you been playing?
All right, so for a continuation from last week, I did play more of Spider-Man, and I actually beat Spider-Man
Oh,
this
cool.
past week. Here is the thing about this game that makes it an amazing game. Haha. When it comes to the story, I felt the story missions, especially the side missions, collaborated very elegantly together. There were a lot of great moments that a lot of great action moments and a lot of just great moments in general where I've like, whoa, this was actually pretty fucking cool. One of which that I'll go in a little bit into detail to was the whole challenge token stuff, right? We initially go through Spider-Man on the PS4 or even on the PS5 if you have that on the PS5 through the Miles Morales limited edition.
Mm-hmm.
The thing eventually you'll get to is you'll encounter the Taskmaster, although he doesn't like explain himself like first and foremost and stuff. You're introduced to these challenge missions to where you can either do one of a couple different things. You can do stealth missions, you can do drone missions, you can do like all sorts of various other types of like missions. I think there's like 4 mission types for the challenge token stuff. What was interesting about it is I actually went through, I collected all like most of the challenge tokens. Basically, I collected enough to where I would have enough to where I could purchase the rest of the suits that I have for
Cool.
Spider-Man. After you go through and like beat all of the challenges, you actually face off against Taskmaster. Like right at the end, you face off against him before, but if you end up losing that battle, he basically kind of taunts you and stuff to get better at what you're doing, blah blah blah, and so on and so forth. So at the end of it, I had this major epic battle on top of the building and stuff with Taskmaster. And the only way you can beat him is if you do perfect dodges at the right moment, and then all of a sudden you just go waylay him with a couple of like light combos. Because here's the thing, he's called the Taskmaster for a reason. He goes through and studies what you do, how you beat opponents, how you sneak up on opponents, and this and that. So you're basically almost playing a carbon copy of yourself in this in regards. So when you try to do like certain things, like say use your webbing in terms of like your that big old webbing and stuff that covers like the enemies and stuff with a whole bunch of like different like a cocoon of like web or some or electrify stuff, he can dodge that easily with his weapon, I believe he has. But when you do a perfect dodge, you dodge at the right moment and stuff to where you can actually web his face and just basically just go through and just waylay on him. That fight felt epic because I was literally at the last portion of my health and I finally beat him and knocked him off the fucking building. I'm like, okay, that was a great moment. But after that, it took me a better part of about a week to finish up the rest of the side quests. One of my favorites actually was the one with Screwball, because you have this girl that wants to become internet famous,
Oh yeah,
basically by becoming a criminal, quintessentially, because all these convicts and stuff want to see Spider-Man die, and so basically she sets you off to these specific types of missions and stuff like that, with either kidnappings, either like people held hostage or something like that, and Spider-Man has to go through and rescue all of these people. But yeah, I thought that was a memorable side mission. But not only did I went through and complete that, I went through, took care of all of the clearing of the districts, clearing of the things. I completed 100% of the main story.
nice.
I've played a little bit of the DLC content in regards to the whole heist stuff for Black Cat. But I'll tell you what, the sequence where like the whole demon's breath or something gets unleashed or whatsoever on the city, and just the first introduction of the formation of the Sinister Six with Shocker, with Rhino, with Scorpion, with Lee, and Vulture, and also of Octavius, and Octavius is the one they build it up throughout the entire game of the relationship between Doctor Octopus, essentially Otto Octavius, and Peter Parker. And so they build up to a certain extent where if you complete all of those side things and stuff like that, you could essentially help him perfect his his neurological type of device stuff for his limbs, which Octavius goes through and just makes up into these appendages, which are basically fucking tentacles. Okay, it's more reminiscent of the comic quintessentially, because it's like throughout the origin stories you have Otto Octavius and stuff, worked with Norman Osborn, did a whole bunch of crazy experiments and this and that. Obviously, that's the key motivation of this game. Really, it's like the whole aspect of people being messed up because of Norman Osborn, the mayor of New York City, and people wanting to get revenge for that. But I loved the first introduction of the Sinister Six. I felt that the boss battles for each and every one of them were pretty good in that regards. It felt like it was constantly escalating to the end point where the final portion of the game, you're facing off against Octavius, everything's all on the line, and then after you beat him and stuff, that cutscene, it was well done. I felt that ending cutscene was well done in regards to here, and this is gonna be a spoiler for the end of Spider-Man 2018. So if you still want to play, just tune out or something for at least the next couple minutes. But
The
the whole
Joker shows
thing,
up.
yeah, the whole thing where Octavius is on his back and stuff like that on a table after being beaten by Spider-Man, revealing he already knew he was Peter Parker for a long while now, and then all of a sudden it's like he goes through, it's like, hey Peter, help me do this and stuff, and basically Peter had to make the hardest decision and stuff of because the Octavius that he knew was already dead.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to make the hard choice of cutting him out. And so you have that whole dramatic scene, and all of a sudden afterwards, it's like you find out that your aunt, Peter Parker's Aunt May, pretty much dies in and of itself. And that was a big blow too. What I love what Insomniac did with Spider-Man in general, they absolutely nailed the source content. They absolutely nailed the character motivations. They absolutely nailed the look and feel of New York City. There were a lot of obscure Spider-Man villains, reference and stuff, through some of the obscure Tombstone, which this guy that
Yeah.
basically has the body of cement and this and that and stuff, to even some the more well-known villains. I said a Rhino, Kingpin, and it's crazy that Kingpin, I thought that they just for early on just to set up the other minor Spider-Man villains and stuff to just collaborate together for the whole Sinister Six stuff, and also having that kind of a swerve and stuff where you feel like Lee's going to be the main villain throughout that entire game, because they set him up to be like that, and all of a sudden the actual villain is Octavius, the person that's been working with you the entire time. That was a good setup. Gameplay, fucking silky smooth. Traversing throughout New York City felt second nature at that point. Combat, there were some quibs that I did have with the combat, and that was because me trying to mix up my combinations, make sure I'm using my gadgets right. It was pretty much throughout my timing and my trial and error. So it was more or less not because of the game function's fault, but more or less how I was using the specific types of combinations. So, for example, if I was going through like a challenge mission and I had to do a combat one and try to get like those 3 challenge tokens and whatsoever, would have to I would not only have had to have like taken out certain like mobsters and stuff, like use my finishers, but there would be that one RPG guy,
Oh yeah.
that would just hit me across the fucking map. I'm like, again, seriously. And then constantly having to use the heal stuff. But here's another fun part. I didn't play through this game on like on the easiest thing. I played it through on amazing, that the normal setting for the game
Oh,
itself.
okay.
So, yeah, so I played through the normal setting, like what the developers had intended to. I have to say, this was definitely a well thought out, well fleshed out open world. I did get the platinum 27, so that's number 3 in a row for this year.
Nice.
Was not expecting that.
Now he's gonna get the
So
PS5 version, and you can get you'll automatically pop the platinum for PS5.
does that actually work that way?
Yeah, I got all the trophies that I got from PS4. You just take your save over to the PS5 version, and all the platinums you got from the PS4 version will just transfer. Same thing with
Oh
Destiny.
my
When you
god.
Destiny 2, when you download the PS5 version of Destiny, all your trophies you got will just transfer over.
Oh, that's hilarious, dude.
There's a lot of
That
games like
reminds.
Marvel, Avengers, a bunch of games are doing that. Tony Hawk and all those.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's actually pretty fun to know because that reminds me of when I would used to play MotorStorm RC on the PS3, platinum that, and it actually unlocked on Vita
Oh yeah.
as well. When I did that, when I got a Vita, but to be perfectly honest with you, it's like, yeah, Spider-Man for 2018. I totally get why people love this game. It's definitely, in my honest opinion, this is the best superhero game I have played through because it does everything well. Everything's well executed. Not since Batman Arkham Asylum. When I played through
Mm.
that and I platinumed that back in the day, that I felt like there was a superhero game that was well cohesive, very respectful of the property in and of itself. Insomniac, like I said, they know how to make great games. That was a fantastic game that they collaborated and like made with Sony and the Spider-Man property. But I'll tell you what, the most hilarious part, the last thing I did in the main campaign after everything's all said and done, it unlocks the costume, right? And it's going to essentially Spider-Man, just his mask and his boxers
Oh
with
yeah.
Spider-Man heads on it. And so I got a good picture of Spider-Man with his head turning back, sort of like with his boxers and everything, etc. Oh, it was definitely a fun time.
I'm sexy and I know it.
Oh, man. That was all I've been playing. I don't know what else I'm going to dive into. I've been having an itch to potentially crack open Ratchet and Clank,
I was actually
maybe
gonna
play that.
I was gonna guess that too, because the new PS5 update came out.
That's the thing. It's like I've been going upon what I feel like I want to play. I'm playing the Spider-Man DLC right now. That may change pretty soon, bearing like how long that stuff is or how good the content is.
It's not great.
Well, hell. But like I said before, I'm just going basically on what I want to play, and I want to play a lot of stuff on the PS5 right now.
Very cool, Gables. That's awesome. I'm glad you finally went back, played that game, beat it. That's C Platinum. That's fucking awesome. Um,
Yeah.
well, speaking of Sony, Gables, it's
Mm-hmm.
I have a long article here. I'm gonna read through it, so you're gonna have
All
to
right.
bear with my reading and my stumbling and rumbling and tumbling and all bumbling and all that as I read this. This is a Jason Schreier special here from
Oh, here we go.
Bloomberg. I mean, when he has an article about gaming, it's usually a big one. Usually he's big on EA, but he's got a great one here about
He's a very articulate when
yeah,
he wants to go through and report upon.
yeah. It's kind of a dick on Twitter, but when his
Yeah,
writing's great.
that's the norm.
Yeah. So So like I said, this is a long ass article, so bear with me. Sony Visual Arts Services Group has a long unsung hero of many hit PlayStation video games. The San Diego-based operation helps finish off game. Is that the beginning? Yeah, okay. So there was that secret. I should do some explaining here. So it's been that worst kept secret in PlayStation about their. Um,
Yep.
Gables just choked on spit. He doesn't have COVID.
Nah,
Um,
water.
so there's been that secret PlayStation studio that started up in San Diego a few years ago, and the rumor's been for a while that they're working on an Uncharted game. And it's been like I said, it's like Sony has never fully mentioned them. They never had a name, but everybody knows they exist basically. So going back to the over here, Sony's Visual Arts Service Group has long been the unsung hero of many hit PlayStation video games. The San Diego-based operation helps finish off games designed at other Sony-owned studios with animation, art, or other content development. But about 3 years ago, a handful of influential figures within the Visual Arts Service Group decided they wanted to have more creative control and lead game direction rather than being supporting actors on popular titles such as Spider-Man and Uncharted. Speaking of Spider-Man, um,
Mm-hmm.
Michael Mumbauer, who took over the direction of the Visual Arts Service Group in 2007, recruited a group of about 30 developers internally and from neighboring game studios to form a new development unit within Sony. This is the secret San Diego studio here we're talking about. The idea was to expand upon some of the company's most successful franchises, and the team began working on a remake of the 2013 hit Last of Us for PlayStation 5. So not a remaster, a full-on remake. But Sony never fully acknowledged the team's existence or gave them the funding and support needed to succeed in a highly competitive video game market, according to people involved. The studio never even got its own name. Instead, Sony moved ownership of The Last of Us remake to its original creator, Naughty Dog, a Sony-owned studio behind many of the best-selling games. Blah 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 blah. We know about that. Deflated, the small group's leadership has largely disbanded, according to an interview with 8 people familiar with the operation. Many, including Mumbauer, have left the company entirely. Mumbauer declined to comment, and others asked not to be named, discussing private information, obviously. Um, the team's failure highlights the complex hierarchy of video game development, and in particular, Sony's conservative approach to making games for the PlayStation 5. The Japanese conglomerate, that's a tough word for me to say, owns about a dozen studios across the world as part of its PlayStation Studios label. But in recent years, has prioritized games made by its most successful developers, studios such as Santa Monica, God of War, California-based
Mm-hmm.
Naughty Dog, obviously Amsterdam's Guerrilla, Horizon, spent tens of millions of dollars to make games with the expectation that those investments will pay off exponentially, and they usually do. Hits including 2018's God of War, 2020's Last of Us Part 2 are exclusives to PlayStation consoles, helping Sony sell 114 million PS4s. Rival Microsoft Corporation has taken the opposite approach, relying on a wider array of studios to feed its Netflix-like subscription service, Xbox Game Pass, which allows users to pay a monthly fee for unlimited access to a variety of games. Sony's focus on exclusive blockbusters has come at the expense of niche teams and studios within the PlayStation organization, leading to high turnover and less choice for players. Last week, Sony reorganized a development office in Japan, resulting in mass departures of people who worked on well-known, but acclaimed games like Gravity Rush. This is about Japan Studios, Gravity Rush, and
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's Golf. The company has informed developers that it no longer wants to produce smaller games, and that they're, I'm sorry, no longer but the company has informed developers that it no longer wants to produce smaller games that are only successful in Japan. Um, so basically, that's what led to the fall of Japan Studios. The fixation on teams that churn out its hits is creating unrest across Sony's portfolio of game studios. Oregon-based, this is where it really gets juicy. Oregon-based Sony Bend, best known for the 2019 open world action game that Days Gone, tried unsuccessfully to pitch a sequel last year, according to people familiar with the proposal. Although the first game had been profitable, its development had been lengthy and critical reception was mixed. Days Gone 2 wasn't seen as a viable option. Instead, one team at the studio was assigned to help Naughty Dog with a multiplayer game, while a second group was assigned to work on a new Uncharted game with supervision from Naughty Dog. Some staff, including top leads, were very unhappy with this arrangement and left. Ben developer feared that they might be absorbed in Naughty Dog, and the studio's leadership asked to be taken off the Uncharted project. They got their wish last month and are now working on a new game of their own that will be part of a brand new franchise. So real
Mm.
quick, there's more to it, but real quick here, just to backtrack. So Sony finally been for years stuck. They had to make Golden Abyss. They had to make they've basically been kind of supporting us with other studios, but finally got to make their own game. Days Gone. Use it.
Mm.
The only studio, big PlayStation studio, that didn't use a PlayStation engine. They used, I think it was on Unreal 4, I believe. Um,
Right.
we're finally gonna, they finally had Days Gone come out. I only played it for a couple hours. I've been tempted to go back into it because there's a PS5 update, and when it came out initially, it was not in great shape, but it's been patched. It's great
Right.
now. But so yeah, they were wanting to keep making their own games, but then basically were broken up into two teams working on a Uncharted game with Naughty Dog supervising, and then help Naughty Dog finish up the Last of Us multiplayer mode. I can't remember what it's called. Um,
Right.
and the main heads that the main people that are talking about that left Sony Bend because of this were there was a lead writer and the lead designer, both of whom have been with the studio since PS1 days. So I mean, we're talking about, and they were like, what's this? Was it Psyops? What was those games that they made? PlayStation had in the PS1, PS2 era. Something else.
Siphon filter.
Siphon Filter. I don't know why I got Ops. Siphon Filter. Yeah, they were created those. Um, so yeah, um, they lost basically their two longest tenure lead people because of this move. So moving on to back here to the article, emphasizing big hits can also be counterproductive because sometimes games that start small can turn into massive successes. In 2020, Sony didn't put much marketing inside muscle behind the quirky video game creation system Dreams, but PlayStation owned Media Molecule in the UK. As a result, PlayStation may have missed out on its own roadblocks. I don't really know why it's in there, but blah blah. Moving on here. For their first solo project, Mumbauer, this is the going back to the secret San Diego studio, and his crew wanted to pitch something that would be well received by their bosses at Sony. Recognizing the risk and expense involved with developing a new game from scratch, they decided to focus on remaking older games for the new PlayStation 5. Remakes are considered a safe bet since it's cheaper to update and polish an old game than it is to start from scratch. Makes sense. They're a small team with 30 people, don't have a lot of money, and start from scratch, and they can be sold both for nostalgic old fans and curious new ones. The team originally planned on a remake for the first Uncharted game released by Naughty Dog in 2007. The idea quickly fizzled because it would be expensive and require too much added design work. Instead, the team settled on a remake for Naughty Dog's Last of Us remake. At the time, Naughty Dog was in the thick of development on the sequel of Last of Us Part 2, which would introduce high fidelity graphics and new gameplay features. If Mumbauer's crew remade the first game to have a similar look and feel, the two games could be packaged together for the PS5. So
Mm.
basically, they're going to remake Last of Us Part 1 and then up-res Last of Us Part 2 and put them together on the PS5 for $70. In theory, this would be a less expensive proposition than remaking Uncharted. Since Last of Us was more modern and wouldn't require too many gameplay overhauls, then once Mumbauer's group had established itself, it could go remake the first Uncharted game and other titles down the road. But pivoting from doing finishing work for other games to make their own is difficult since original development teams are competing against hundreds of other teams from all over the world with varying levels of experience and success. Um, this is from Dave Lang, from founder of the Iron Galaxy Studios, which
Ah.
he was a support team and development studio for PlayStation for a long time. The people
Right.
funding the work are often risk averse, and if they have to pick between a team that's done it before and someone trying to do it on their own for the first time, I can see why some people pick the prior developer over the latter. Makes sense. Um, that's just what Sony did. Mumbauer's project, codenamed T1X, was approved on a probationary basis. T1X is the codename for The Last of Us Part 1 remake. But
Right.
Sony kept the team's existence a secret and refused to give them a budget to hire more people, leading many to wonder if the company was really committed to letting the team build a new studio. Still, the small team kept working, and by the spring of 2018, they had completed a section of the game design to showcase how the rest of it would look and feel. At the time, Sony was going through a management shuffle. Sean Layton had mysteriously was left. Um, that's part of it. That's on the article. That's just something that happened around that time period.
Right.
So they had the management shuffle, and the new boss wasn't impressed. Herman Holst, he was the former head of Guerrilla Games. He was named the PlayStation Worldwide Studios. Shuei Ishida previously had that title, and then he got demoted to be the head of indie games. Um,
Right.
So he was given that title in November 2019. He thought the remake project was too expensive, according to people familiar with the matter, and asked why the planned budget for T1X was so much higher than remakes Sony had made in the past. The reason was that this game was a brand new graphical engine for the PS5. Mamaro needed to hire more people to help remake the graphics on new technology as a redesigned gameplay mechanics. Holst wasn't convinced, the people said. Just when it hoped to enter production on the remake of The Last of Us, Mumbaro's team got called in to help with another big game fell behind. So they were basically turned into a support team in 2019 to help Naughty Dog finish Last of Us Part 2 because they had multiple delays. It's supposed to be a 2019 game, got delayed to February 2020, then delayed to May, then June.
Right.
Um, they had to go help Naughty Dog, help them off and finish that game off, uh, so they get the game out in June when they did. Then the roles got reversed. Sony sent word that after the completion of Last of Us Part 2, some people from Naughty Dog would help out with the T1X, the Last of Us remake. Remember, team saw this as a short-lived autonomy being stripped. Dozens of Naughty Dog staff were joining the project, and some had actually worked on the original Last of Us, giving them more weight in the discussion. The game was moved under Naughty Dog's budget, which Sony had gave more leeway than the visual arts service group. Soon it was apparent that Naughty Dog was in charge, and the dynamics returned to what they had been for the last decade and a half. Visual arts support group aiding another team of developers rather than leading. To Sony, the move made sense. Naughty Dog is one of the key studios for Sony's ability to sell PlayStations. Um, Sony's competitive advantage has always been exclusive content over Microsoft and more new games, as well as remakes of classic titles from such a story team can help sustain demand for PS5. But those who wanted independence were disappointed. By the end of 2020, most of the T1X team's top staff had left. So that brand new studio they were creating in San Diego, the Secret Studio,
Yeah.
it's pretty much already gone, including
Wow.
Mumbauer, the head of the studio. He's already left. Been part of PlayStation for over 15 years. He's gone. And the games director, David Hall, has also left. David Hall, I believe he last game he put out was a Killer Instinct game. He went to Amazon for 4 years before
Yeah.
that, and then he was somewhere else for a while. So he's been kind of bouncing around. Today, the T1X project remains in development at Naughty Dog with assistance from what's left of the group. The future of the remainder of the Mumbaro's team, which has come to be jokingly referred to as Naughty Dog South. So the secret San Diego studio, the team is now basically mocking themselves, calling themselves Naughty Dog South. Um, so this was going on. Tyler rant time. I so there's a little bit more in the story. So basically, Sony Bend, like I was talking about, they wanted to they wanted to keep making their own games. They finally, after years and years and years of like being told what to do and hey, make this game, go make a Vita game of Uncharted, not your franchise, and then no one's gonna look at that. It's not a real Uncharted game, kind of shit. Like, um, finally get to go and do their own thing with Days Gone, and then it took them a long time to make it, but like I said, it's the first time making their own franchise, brand new
Right.
IP. Took them like 5 years to develop it, which I don't know. I mean, that's a long time, but it's not crazy. It took Last of Us Part 2 took 4 years after Uncharted 4. So
Really. Yeah.
I don't really understand that when they're talking about the long development cycle for that. Um, but anyways, so Sony Ben got split up into two teams, um, and one had to go. One's helping. It sounds like currently working on um, the Last of Us multiplayer game. I can't remember what it's been called. Like we've known about forever. Last of Us Part One had a multiplayer mode as well, and
Right.
they said in this article it's a standalone. So I wonder if they're going to charge us separately for that. Um, and then on top of that, Days Gone 2 got denied, which it seems like from a lot of people when they talk about Days Gone, like I know like Justin really liked the game. I heard people like it seems like from a review standpoint it didn't do well, but when that game came out, it was not in great shape.
No.
But it seems like with patches, with a couple months after the game came out, I heard it ran super duper well. Now there's a new patch that came out, I think last year for the PS5, so it's 4K 60 frames per second, runs better, a lot less bugs, so all that. So now the game they want to is, we always see sequels a lot of times, like the main issue it seems like the game, besides the bugs and everything, was there was just too much of the game, like it was just went on too long, and dragged on too much fat, And you see a lot of games like they trim that shit off. They find out what works. They make the game. Sequels are almost always better than the original. Um,
Yes.
so instead of being able to go work on that, uh, one half of the team got stuck on a Last of Us uh, multiplayer game, and then the other half of the team, hey, you guys are gonna make it the next Uncharted game, but Naughty Dog's in charge, so they're their supervisor. Um, and then so then you lose your art director and or your designer, lead designer, and your lead writer, who's been there for over 20 years, since the PlayStation One era. Uh, and then
Wow.
so you've wasted, and then last month they finally pulled them off the Uncharted project. So who knows what's going on with that Uncharted game, if that's what's going to happen with that. Um,
Right.
so then you just wasted the last year and a half of Ben's time when we're all thinking they're probably well into development of a Days Gone 2. They've done nothing for a year and a half. Uh, and then you got Naughty Dog, the best gaming studio in the entire world. And don't feel like I'm being sarcastic when I say that. I feel like they've proven with just the last generation with Last of Us, Uncharted 4, and Last of Us Part 2, the best art direction, graphics, story, characters, everything. They're the best. And you have them working on a remake of an 8-year-old game that had. So it was a PS3 game in 2013, got remastered in
Yep.
2014 for PS4, got a PS4
Yep.
Pro update in 2016, got
Yep.
another update in last summer, I believe. It was sometime last year, not less than a year ago, to run better with short load times. And now we're getting it a PS5. So it's already come out, remaster,
Yep.
PS4 update, another update to kind of prepare for, um, I'm assuming the PS5 and just just get run better overall. So game that's essentially gotten 3 updates already. We're gonna get a PS5 update, and we're wasting the best talent in the world to make this game again. And I get okay. There's the Last of Us TV show's gonna start filming next or in July, and
Yeah.
then so that'll probably come out 2023. Maybe they're hoping to like do that, get that Witcher bump where we saw Witcher come out on Netflix, and then the sales of Witcher 3 shot up like 400% after the game. So they're hoping to get that bump, and it's gonna sell super duper well. They're gonna make a PS5 update of Last of Us Part 1 and 2, put it together, sell it for $70. It's gonna fucking sell 5 million copies, no doubt about it. Um, but you're wasting, like I said, you're wasting the best talent in the world to make this a remake that is unnecessary. When I replayed Last of Us Part last year, and it's like I could get like it's not maybe for like new fans it's a little hard to jump into, but when I play, it's like this game still looks really good and it plays really. I mean, the gameplay is not like top notch, but it plays well. Then you have this secret San Diego studio that we've been hearing about for 2 years now, and we're thinking the rumor's been forever they're making they're making a Uncharted game, which trying to be true.
Right.
Like they're kind of working on a Uncharted 1 remake, which is a little disappointing, but the rumors are true. It's like, hey, cool, another new studio. It's their first thing, like they said, makes sense. We got to prove ourselves. Let's just do something that's quick, easy, cheap, a little cheaper to do. We're a smaller studio. Prove what we can do, and then we can move on. We can maybe next game do our own new thing. And it's like that studio's already gone. It's been basically as absorbed into Naughty Dog. Um, so you have a brand new studio that you started. It was supposed to be a brand new next AAA studio. It's gone. It's Naughty Dog South now, and it's 30 people, and all the lead people that have been there, that have been a part of that company for part of PlayStation for 15 years, all gone. All your leads are left, um, and they're just a support team now. Sony Bend, your half of the team is working on a Masters multiplayer game that who fucking cares about that game, and then the other half just wasted 18 months doing nothing. Then you have and also you're not getting a Days Gone 2, which Days Gone 2, you want about it, sold really well. I think it sold like 7 million copies, which is phenomenal
Yeah.
for a exclusive game on
Well, yeah, it is.
exclusive for any game, but especially for exclusive. And then you have I forgot where I was going with this, but it's just anyways, you've wasted all this time, and then it's so frustrating when I I've been defending PlayStation, like we've been talking like I'm not even gonna get onto the whole PlayStation the PS3, Vita, PSP stuff. That's totally separate, I think, from this. But people have been saying for a while about, oh man, PlayStation's kind of going to this console generation arrogant. And I'm like, I don't think they're really arrogant. I think it's more so they're just not really saying a lot. Like the consoles came out, and we haven't really heard a lot from them since. We had a state of play, but it focused more on indie games. It wasn't really a big deal. And it's kind of like Nintendo. We were frustrated last year with Nintendo because they were just
Right.
quiet for a long time, and then they finally talked, and it was like, hey, here's the Mario 3D All Stars. Like, okay, but whatever. I mean, we all bought it, but all right, whatever. But it's like, and then Xbox. But the problem is, like, we keep every week. It seems like every 2 weeks, we talk about Xbox is doing this awesome thing. Like, they added all this. They're adding shit to Game Pass. Like, they added EA Play to Game Pass. They're adding fucking Outriders day one Game Pass. MLB The Show.
Yep.
PlayStation made Game Pass day one. Like, it's just
Yep.
every other week we're hearing this awesome fucking thing that Xbox is doing, and that's cool. But my defense for PlayStation the way I felt and has been, like I said, is like they're not coming out saying dumb things. It's just they're not saying anything,
No.
which has been frustrating. But um, but it's not like this. Like, 'cause people are like, oh, this PlayStation's going into the PS5 is like the Xbox One. I'm like, that doesn't make sense because like Xbox One, like everybody was excited for Xbox One. Like, Xbox was like, I think most people were going in, we're getting the Xbox One when the new consoles come out, and then that happened, and it's like, oh, you guys, this sucks. We'll just get like we just then it was just like PlayStation. All they had to do was not fuck it up, and they didn't fuck it up. And then they were like, we're gonna focus on game after game after game after game after game, and they fucking nailed it. And they focused on all these, like, we had these great, they'll even be like the second half of PS3 when you look at it, where it's like we have Journey, we have Flower, we have fucking we created Uncharted, we're God of War fucking 3, we have fucking they're taking chances. PlayStation Battle All Star, Battle Royale, like all these, like they're taking, not all of them are hits, not all of them are bangers, but they're fucking Until Dawn, shit, like they were taking chances, taking swings, and it's like Sean Layden, who was the head. I can't remember. I think he took over in like 2008, 2009 of PlayStation.
Yeah.
He took over, and it's kind of like, when you listen to this guy talk, there's like this famous video that came out, like that people were reposting from like E3 like 2010, where he was talking about this game that he worked on, and he talks about it wasn't a multi. I can't remember the name of the game, but it wasn't a multi-million seller, but that's fine because it's not about it's about the games. It's not about how well it sells. And it's like we hear about, like, we like, it's the things we miss when it's like you hear about Iwata talk about, he's like, in
Right.
my mind I'm the CEO. What was the phrase? It was like he's like, in my mind or on my business card I'm president. In my mind I'm a developer, but in my heart I'm a gamer. And it's like you had Reggie, you had Iwata, you had all these, Shigeru, all these people that knew what gamers wanted, and obviously it hit. We had the Wii U, doesn't always hit, but like the games were so fucking great that were coming out for it. And then the Switch came out, and it's fucking amazing. And then you have Phil Spencer take over after Don Matrick fucked everything up for PlayStation or for Xbox
Right.
because he ran it like a business. He's like, oh, sports, TV, Connect. This is the shit that's going to sell to the broad. We don't care about the hardcore. We want to sell the broad. And we saw how we're going to double down on Halo and Gears and remakes of and remasters of older games. Like the big game that came out at the beginning of Xbox One was the Halo Master Chief Collection, which
Right.
is royally fucked to, like, not to this day, but for years was royally fucked. And then the Gears
Yes,
of
it
War
was.
remaster, that was like their big thing they did. Um, and then we look at PlayStation, they have arrogance fuck at PS3, and then we see Sean Layden come over, take over, and he's like, he's a gamer, he's on the pulse of gaming, and we see him turn around with the second half of PS3. We see him turn, like,
Right.
at PlayStation 4, they come out, fucking nail all that, say all the things we want to hear. Like, they got the broad market and they got the hardcore. And then fucking we had Jim Ryan coming. Now we got Phil Spencer at Xbox, and he's out there talking constantly. He was on an Animal Crossing talk show the day
Yep.
after Halo got delayed as an Xbox launch game to talk about it
Yep.
on a Animal Crossing talk show, a Nintendo game talk show. He was on there to talk about the, like, and just opened up talking about what went wrong, why they did it. Very open about it. Obviously not going to tell us all the dirty secrets, but he went into detail about it, something nobody else
It's
would
that
done.
fact of authenticity in terms of
Yeah,
honesty and stuff that you don't hardly see from a lot of figureheads or something like that of a gaming company go out and say. Like, Sony doesn't do that. Phil Spencer, head of Microsoft, does do that.
mm-hmm.
But when it comes to this whole rigmarole stuff, in regards to the whole thing with Sony Bend, I mean, this is pretty much one of the first I've heard about this whole aspect. The way I'm thinking is this is just like another notch in regards to a I would say an alarming trickling effect to where it reminds me of some overconfidence on the part of Sony in some regards. Because look what we've had personally. We've had like the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 being hugely successful in regards to what they did and what they aimed for. Sony went into the PS3 generation with a bunch of overconfidence because they thought they could go through and sell as well as they did, and they decided to overcharge for that point. But there were other myriad things that pretty much stunted the PS3 in that regards. Even though that's a system I did play a hell of a lot in that regards, and it did have a bunch of fun games. There were core aspects that that PS3 had so far in inside of its entire life cycle so far that made it worth going and investing inside that platform. You'd have a lot of the original concept for games, like you were just mentioning, like a flower, like a journey, like even like the creation of the Uncharted series, Last of Us. I mean,
Brought back
more
God
of
of War.
classic French. Yes, exactly. More of classic series that were from the PS2 that elaborated upon itself, like Ratchet and Clank, God of War, in that regards. The thing about what's so alarming about the PS5 and even what Sony is doing right now is a bunch of the people that have worked for there, a lot of what made that company strong to begin with was their roots in Japan, was these key developers, these key makers that helped influential stuff create these oddball, like obscure certain game franchises and game stuff that helped make Sony into a big juggernaut that it was. So when I see them going through the approach of they want to go after the big sure thing, big budget stuff and less of the little stuff, and then demolishing Sony of Japan's studio, and even this news coming out about Sony Bend having their sequel to Days Gone canceled, quintessentially to work on another remake of a pretty much a game from like 2013 or something of that sort. You know, The Last of Us, which does not need another fucking remaster, or even like or another remaster of like Uncharted One. I mean, they have quintessentially been led astray in that regards, in my personal opinion, because it's like if your main focus was you wanted to go forth after all this time of doing good work upon what Sony, that company, asked you to do, making a game like Uncharted Gold Abyss, which you know what, it didn't set the world on fire, but it was definitely a good enough game to play on the Vita, and it definitely played in large parts to their strengths. Making a game like Days Gone, even though it wasn't like a runaway success, it still sold 7 million units. It still sold more than certain other games have released
Yeah.
on that platform throughout that year
Games that
when
come
it
out on
first released.
everything don't sell that. Most games don't.
Exactly the point. That, in my opinion, is a success. But in regards to this overall trickling down effect, it feels like Sony is doing a lot of stupid, unlike overconfident moves, like quintessentially just making a whole bunch of plans for the now and have no focus upon what they want to do in the future. It feels like because they're pissing off a lot of their fan base in regards to backwards compatibility through their other consoles that they've released previous. They have made it a purpose so far of making gamers like us that have invested time and effort into their products for years question the fact that they should invest long term because of like random stupid shit that they never even bothered of telling us about until we have to figure it out ourselves. It still kind of ties in the whole thing about the PS3, PS Vita stuff, but what I want to focus on is like it feels like a onslaught of negative stuff. It's almost the exact opposite of what it was last generation, where Microsoft with the Xbox One stumbled out of the gate. All the talk about TV this ways or whatever the hell, or any type of media stuff, and then like that whole stuff, and the PS4 doing insanely well because you can actually play your games with this whole DRM shit, even though they don't tell you about if you even try to get a lot of your content, like say if you want to try to copy your content, that's protected by a DRM that you can't even go through onto your like PC or whatsoever to try to get that content backed up if you wanted to. But I'm it just feels weird because now we're hearing the exact opposite where it's like Xbox with Microsoft, you're hearing constant like things that they're making in the right direction for consumer service. For Sony, you're hearing almost the exact opposite because you're hearing all these internal conflicts between their studios. You are hearing a whole bunch in regards to their whole backwards compatibility and stuff and the whole longevity of their consoles in general, the whole aspect of maybe the PS4 being a ticking time bomb, the fact that this whole storefront stuff for the PlayStation 3 and the Vita not even giving us adequate amount of time. They just announced it out of nowhere. They totally undercut indie developers that were producing games for the Vita system in particular, a lot of which did not even know until even some of them even bought Vita kits as recent as like about a week and a half or something before they decided to do it. Sony knew in that regards before, but they still offered, these like Vita kits and stuff for sale. A lot of this tit for tat shit has snowballed in its effect to where I feel like it's definitely going to play a role in the future impact of the PlayStation 5. It's still selling quite well. It's still one of the hottest selling items
Oh yeah.
right now. But it's amazing how quick a year can go by and how momentum in regards to what Sony has with the launch of this system could equally has would dissipate in regards to any long-term major blunders they could potentially make because we're constantly hearing about delays upon certain PS5 games that were going to be releasing on certain dates but now have been pushed back. I believe that there was another game that got delayed, but that was PS5 exclusive, Deathloop.
Yeah.
That got pushed
Moved
until
from
September.
May 21st to September 14th. Yep.
Right,
That's a Bethesda game though. That's not them. That's yeah.
right. But at the same time, it's kind of advertised as a PS5 exclusive in that
Yeah.
regards right now.
The delay stuff I think is just different because I mean it's like I think that's all come back to COVID and then Cyberpunk are the two lead issues with that. Is I mean and everything's being delayed right now. I mean Halo Infinite's got delayed a whole year. Or from being a launch game to maybe it might be a late 2021 game. So yeah.
Right. But overall, what I wanted to say, just in the entirety of what has been going on. I feel like the snowballing of all of these issues, all of these legitimate concerns by both consumers, developers, people in the gaming industry and stuff, it's collaborating to an effect and stuff. It's like, what the fuck is Sony even doing? They're not, they had one job in quintessential, and that's create games that people want to play. And everything else from their methodical moves, their shift in leadership, has almost simultaneously unraveled a lot of the a lot of like the various customer loyalty or any type of longevity of investing inside of their product in general because you're leaving with consumers now with the idea of is like, okay, I buy a PS5, right, but yet I bought a PS4 last generation or I bought a PS3 before that, and yet you tell me I can't access certain games now unless I have to do it this way or that way, until like a timer thing. It just tells me that the content I do buy on their platforms, whether it be like digital or something or whatever storefronts, it has a time limit before eventually I cannot access that anymore. And quite honestly, it's a lot better, in my honest opinion, say to know that up front. Say we all know for like PlayStation Plus and Game Pass and stuff, you're not technically like owning these games, but they're like kind of like rentals in that regards to where if you don't want to pay for it, you can't get access to them. So that's a subscription thing. So we already automatically know it's like we can play that through a subscription. But what it feels, but at the same time, what it's like, what they're not telling you, it's like a lot of these digital games and stuff, you're paying for license. You're paying for the use of a license. And so finally, it's like Sony has equal amount rights to terminate this at any time. It's not just Sony, it's also Microsoft, it's also Nintendo. But what we're focused on right now, it's like Sony has been more in the limelight because of stuff like this. It's mostly because of the way they've mismanaged like the look and effect of their backwards compatibility in general. And so hearing more about, say, more developer issues or more things that are like collaborating towards this is not really too much of a big surprise to me. It's just frustrating as a gamer that has been playing PlayStation content off and on for like the past 20 some odd years, and then not being able to play a lot of my content, and may not be able to play my content another 5 or 6 years from now when I want to. That's frustrating. Absolutely. Because here I am struggling now at this last second, like at least a couple months, because I want to try to get what I want to get through these storefronts without having to go onto eBay and pay some scalper another fucking extra $100 or $200 and stuff just to get the one game I want to play through maybe once in the next 2 or 3 years, you know. But ranting aside and stuff, I'm
Yeah.
good.
I mean, just going back to kind of what I was saying though about like, I just see a lot of parallels here with like, like we had like Andrew House, Shuei Yoshida, we had Sean Layden,
Yep.
like as the face. Whenever there was a E3 or a state of play, they were always there talking. And it's like we saw, like I said, we saw it with Nintendo Directs and everything. We had well, even before that, we had Reggie, we had Miyamoto, we had Iwata.
Yes.
I mean, obviously Iwata passed away, Reggie retired. Um,
Now we got Doug Bowser.
yeah, now we got Doug Bowser, and we have um, no, the new lead guy for Zelda. I can't remember his name.
Oh, I knew that. No.
Ainuma, yeah, he was on the last
Yeah.
direct talking about
Yeah, he was.
Skyward Sword. But now what do we got for fucking PlayStation? We have the lady from the State of Play.
Yeah.
We don't know who. It's just a nameless
We
woman.
don't even know who she is. She's just some random lady
She's
that
just
was
the
in the state of
narrator of
play.
these, and then we don't.
And then we have Jim Ryan.
Yeah, and Jim Ryan, who's the new head of PlayStation, um, and I mean he comes from he's not he just I'm getting like the Dom. I mean, obviously maybe we're overblowing this. This is just one thing, but it's just like this is the first real sign where I've always been like when you hear they're going in America. Is this where the PS5 is the Xbox One? I'm like, all right, we all need to calm down. We're all overblowing this. It's just Xbox is sounding
I can
incredible
see the
right now.
comparisons and stuff,
I
but at
don't
the same,
I don't see the
yeah,
comparisons because it's just like they're not saying anything. Where Xbox like came out and they just said stupid shit after stupid shit, and it's just like this is the first real sign where I'm starting to like see that a little bit. Where it's just like Jim Ryan's coming in, and he's like, all right, well we can invest a bunch of money and then maybe maybe get this on return and create all this new shit. The thing we've been doing for the last 15 fucking years that's been working super duper well for us, or we can just remake this fucking Last of Us Part 1 and waste a year and a half of Ben's time, waste as the second team's time working on a Last of Us multiplayer
yep.
game. This new AAA team we just started growing, just absorb them in the Naughty Dog. We're not even going to do anything with them. We just wasted the last 3 years of their lives. We're going to waste the best developing team in the entire world, have them remake a game they made 8 years ago, and then we're going to they also have their team working on a Last of Us multiplayer game, and then who knows what else is going on with Naughty Dog. Um, I mean, like I said, short term, this game's gonna Last Part 2 or Last Part 1, the combo pack for PS5. It's gonna sell super duper well. We're gonna hear if it sold 10 million copies, or it's gonna sell 15. Like we know what's gonna happen,
Well,
but
of course it is.
it's gets so short sighted. Is why I mean, like a lot of us are gonna, everybody's gonna bitch about it, but most of us are gonna buy that fucking thing again, that pack again. Um, I mean, I bought Last of Us Part 1 3 times now. I bought it on PS3. I bought it for PS4 physically, and then I bought it again digitally. So, anyways, though, it's just, you look at Jim Ryan. It's just like he's doesn't have his finger on the pulse of like what gamers like want, and it's just
No.
it's like we're in that golden era of like PS4, and I was kind of thinking of it like as wrestling fans, we're just talking about WrestleMania. We're like, I mean, bear with me here. Whereas it's like for people who aren't wrestling fans, but like a lot of people the generation before us talk about the 80s was the golden era of
Yep.
wrestling. For us, the Attitude Era, late 90s, early 2000s, golden era of
Yep.
wrestling. That was two golden eras of wrestling in the last 30 years. And it's like
Yep.
PS4, we're in that golden era. Like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, that was the golden era of Nintendo. And it's just like
Up until the Switch.
up until I mean, yeah, but I mean, I think what Nintendo obviously probably meant more back in the 80s and early 90s than they do now. Just for what they meant for gaming.
Right.
But
I see.
anyways, um, it's just I get so much Don Magic wasn't, he was a businessman. He wasn't. I'm not saying you have to be a gamer to understand gamers, but it's like you gotta have a clue. You have to pay attention. You can't just look at graphs all the time. And maybe that works in other businesses and other places, but it's like I don't know. It's just it's a bummer because it's just like
Feels like they're killing creativity to streamline what's safe.
yeah, and that's a great way to sum up this entire rant. Is they are they are killing creativity to streamline, just make shit ton of money, and I don't know. It's like I heard someone post this on Twitter. It's like Sony's trying to be MCU right now, where they're gonna have all these different studios doing all these awesome things, but they can
Yep.
very easily be the DCEU, where
Yep.
we know what's going on with them, with all their movies. You know, like with Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, Justice League. You know, Snyder Cut, all that. It's like we can see like they wanted to be fucking MCU too, and it's like it's not that easy. And you could very easily have something. It makes money, but it's in chaos all the time, and they're just they've been trying to fix it the last 5 years. So I don't know. I just I'm not trying to be the I'm usually the Sony defender, and it's never because I'm like I said, like before, like I always felt like it was always overblown about the PlayStation arrogance. And this is that first, and maybe we're overblowing. Maybe I'm overblowing this right now. Maybe a lot of us are, but it's just like this is the first real sign. It's like I've said for a long time I am an agnostic gamer. I'm not a Sony pony. I'm not an Xbox. I'm not a Nintendo fanboy. Like I go where the games are. I have a Switch. I have an Xbox One X. I have a PS4. I had the PS4 Pro, PS5 now, and it's just like I've been trying to get an Xbox Series S or X for a while now. I can't get one, because but I don't know. I want. It just felt like we were finally for maybe the first time since it's been the big three of gaming, the console makers, Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation, that all three were going to be at the same time at an awesome point with Game Pass, the
Right.
Switch, and the PlayStation with their fucking awesome um, new
First parties.
IPs, first party games, and um, yeah, just what hurts more on top of that is just like they're not worried. They don't care about the like. You look at the late 2000s, early 2000s, the end of PS3, beginning of PS4, where like they were so focused on like indie games filling those
Yes,
gaps.
they were.
Like we got Journey out of it, it's like an incredible game. We got fucking Flower out of it. Until Dawn, not an indie game, but it's a smaller game. It's supposed to be a fucking move game at one point. Um, it's like they're focusing on these smaller games to fill in those gaps, and they were a lot of not like I said, not all the time. We got PlayStation Battle Royale out of it, but they were a lot of times really really great games. And it's just like, oh, we don't want to. It's just like it's the thing I always talk about with like the movie business, where it's like, and it kind of really, I mean, it's always kind of been about the MCU, where it's like everybody sees like every time the MCU puts out a Marvel movie comes out, it makes $1 billion. And it's like now everybody, all they care about is making $1 billion movies. No one really cares about let's make this $20 movie or this $20 million movie, and then we can make 50, 60, 70, 80, 150, $200 million on it. It's like no, we gotta go for the big fish. We gotta do a $150 million budget, and we need to make $1 billion, or it's not worth it. It's like I talked about with like Justice League, that movie uh, did like $800 million or something in the box office, and made a lot of money, but it was considered a failure by Warner Brothers. It's like the movie's not great. It's a terrible movie, but like it should be a failure just based on how bad it is. But
Right.
it's like that movie made money and they're disappointed. It's just like I don't know. It's like that's just I just see PlayStation going that route. It's like we only care about the big all we want to do is hit home runs. We don't, and that's all we care about. But we need to move on. So moving on to the Xbox side of things, and kind of going actually a little bit with PS5 here. So we had that weird trailer come out of a game called Abandoned, made by the Blue Box team, I believe is what they're called. Um,
Okay.
it's they can put like a teaser trailer out. They announced it. It's supposed to come out later this year, but yet it's weird. So it's supposed to come out later this year, but it's in early development. So I don't understand that. But Blue Box Games is I went and googled them because I never heard of them. And this is before the Kojima shit kind of came out with them. But
Yes.
they have a Twitter account. They haven't tweeted since like 2015. They've only had a few games, early access games out on like that they put out them by themselves on Steam. But I guess they've mostly been like kind of like helping out smaller other games, put out games basically. They've been a support studio for a long time. So the rumor, like this thing came out, and it's like you can kind of see it. It's like where people were like, "Oh, this is like a PT thing. This is Kojima's next game," and a lot of people were freaking. Oh, it's Silent Hill. A lot of people were thinking it was Silent Hill.
Right. Right.
Kojima, and it's like the Blue Box came out. And I feel kind of bad for them. where it's like they came out. It's like we've been looking forward to releasing and announcing this for a long time, and it's like everybody's just like disappointed that it's not a Kojima game. It's like that sucks. It's like everybody's less interested in your game now because it's something else. It's you working on it. I don't care anymore. I was only excited because I thought this guy was working on it, and then kind of coming out of that. And this has been a rumor for a while. I just never threw in the show notes because it's just kind of there wasn't seemed like there was a lot there. But Phil Spencer did an interview about a month ago from his office, and he had the Kojima Productions like a model statue, kind of like I have in my background here, of the logo in his background. But he also had a Nintendo Switch and a couple other things back there. But he's teased it before. He had an Xbox One X hidden in the background of his in an interview once before, and it was before the
Yeah.
Xbox One X was revealed, so no one knew what it was when it was back there. Um, so a lot of people for about the last month now have been like talking about, is he teasing? Is this a tease for a Kojima thing? So comes out. This is all according to Jeff Grubb, but he is a really great. I quote him often on this podcast. He's been a really great reporter. He creates a summer game mess. He's been kind of really good about. He's the one that revealed the Mass Effect Legendary edition. He's been really good at that, and he was the one that kind of like started talking about the Kojima to Xbox uh, uh, rumor slash kind of giving information on it. And he came out on I think Thursday or Friday and said that basically pretty much confirming this is happening. He also confirmed last week that Alan Wake 2 is in development right now. But
Hmm.
also he said that the this contract with Xbox and Hideo Kojima's Kojima Productions, it's the lawyers are finalizing the deal right now. So
Whoa.
not that Kojima is going there. It's kind of like what we saw with Death Stranding with PlayStation, where um, PlayStation is just like, all right, we're going to pay for it, but we're going to own the IP. So PlayStation owns the IP of Death Stranding, but we're just going to pay you to make this game, make whatever you want. But it comes exclusive to us, and we own the IP. And that's basically what it sounds like here with Xbox is like, where you make whatever you want. They probably already have something going on. I'm sure it's been a year and a half since Death Stranding came out. But basically, Xbox is it's like, all right, we just whatever you're making, we want it, kind of thing, and we'll pay you for it. So that's basically what sounds like going on here. So I'm incredibly pumped for this. Like I was excited for when PlayStation and Kojima hooked up the first time initially because like awesome to see Kojima's got some support. He's got the money now. He's got the budget. I didn't like Death Stranding at all. I've gone back to it 3 or 4 times. I've ranted about it several times on this podcast about it. Um, but yeah, I'm incredibly Kojima's my favorite game maker of all time. So I'm incredibly pumped. And I'm also excited he's not making Death Stranding 2. That makes me more happy to know that's not happening. But I mean, like I said, I go where the games are, especially go wherever Kojima goes. If this was a PC exclusive, I would fucking, you goddamn right, I'd be looking out, like I'd be googling how to get a PC good enough to play his fucking game. So I think this is awesome. Once again, like I said, like as this bad news is coming out about PlayStation, this more awesome news coming out about Xbox here about they got Kojima making his next game. So what's your thoughts on this one, Gables?
I find it very interesting. So in that regards, it's like Jeff Grubb reporting upon that. It makes me kind of interested inside of legalities. For one, if it's actually announced that Kojima Studios pretty much is going to go through and create a game squarely on the Xbox Series X and S systems, what type of a content it could be. In my honest opinion, I really would love to see like Kojima go back inside of like say a classic sort of series in regards to what he initially did before he did like the advent of like say Metal Gear Solid for Sony in that regards. There are other types of there were other types of properties that he did work on even before then. I mean,
Hmm.
one of them, oh gosh, it was an
That we,
obscure Sega CD game.
there was that cop game.
Yes, that's what the one I was referring
Mm-hmm.
to. It was, oh god, I know I'm trying to think about it. It's a very obscure Sega CD game, but like, oh gosh. But the fact remains is it was like one of those type of visual novel sort of like aspect of games, and it ran, and it's fairly expensive, I think too. But I forgot what it's
I'm looking
called.
it up right now. Police Knots.
Police Knots?
Yep.
Okay, so Police Knots. So this is the game that
Came to PlayStation as well, actually.
Police Knots. I'm not too sure if that's the actual
Yeah,
thing.
director Hideo Kojima. I'm looking at the Wikipedia right now.
All right. So if he goes more or less upon the style of like some of his classic stuff that he's done, I want to very much interested in seeing how he would do like games with like a Police Knots or something instead of like a modern type of 2021 sort of setting, because the story and everything else and stuff is fairly intriguing, working a bunch of that inside of his whole like type of magic and stuff. I kind of want it to be sort of a unique experience, not like something that was like incredibly boring and repetitive for a lot of players, like Death Stranding. Maybe not so much like the craziness in regards to what the Metal Gear Solid retains, even though that is definitely, in my honest opinion, his best work in that entire series. But just something that's interesting that will get a lot of people talking and a lot of people wanting to play it. That's what I want to know.
Police Knots is $25 on eBay right now for PlayStation.
God, gosh, man, I'm not too sure if that the thing was Police Knots. But yeah, go ahead and like.
It came to 3DO, Saturn, and PlayStation. So I don't know if there's anything. I've always heard about that game, but that was the game in between Metal Gear Solid or Metal Gear on NES and Metal Gear Solid on PS1.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I just want Kojima to be able to make games. He makes incredibly artistic games, and he needs a budget for sure. So I'm just happy someone's willing to. I'm glad he has his freedom, and I'm glad he and he has the budget. I'm just happy, and I hope to God I like this one. Um, like I said, it's gonna be interesting because Death Stranding was actually made on the same engine that Horizon was made on, and that's a PlayStation owned
Interesting.
engine. So obviously he's got to make a game on a different engine. And he's also talked about before about possibly making smaller games, and then he said he really wanting to work on a horror game as well. So maybe it could be him jumping back into making that Silent Hill S game we've always wanted from him to do. Did you find it?
By the way, Tyler,
Yeah.
I actually found the game that I was on. It wasn't Police Nuts. It was Snatcher.
Oh, okay. I do vaguely remember
That's the one I
Snatcher.
was referring
Okay.
to.
Um.
Snatcher. Basically, what it is, the basic idea of it is like it heavily resembles Blade Runner in regards, where it's like the game strays.
Oh, 1988. Okay, yeah.
Yes,
Turbo
that's
graphics.
very obscure. But I'm just doing like a little bit of citing about from this article and stuff I'm seeing right here. It's like pretty much like an article saying the top 10 like best games that Kojima has made, and like they have Snatcher up here number 7, where it's like most games by the designer, the story involves the Cold War and the Soviet Union. The first edition, released in 1988, while it wasn't a huge success, especially in North America, those who played it acknowledged how ahead of the curve its story was for the medium.
It's going.
So,
It's going for fifty
yeah,
dollars on eBay right now.
interesting.
Yeah, but I don't think it ever.
Interesting.
I think this one never came to the United States. I think you have to import it.
Oh,
So
maybe it was Police Nuts. That was like in terms of
yeah,
the sales and stuff.
the only cover I could find is in Japanese. So I'm not sure if that's true or not. But
But that's what I was referring to, Snatcher.
okay, all right. I do. I remember. I just remember Police Dance. I don't know too much about the. Or I didn't know too much about Snatchers. But moving on here, I think to we got one more topic after this, but that one's gonna be fast. So E3, it's officially coming back. Oh, well, we
Yep.
they announced it. We have details. It's all gonna be free now. There was the rumors that they're gonna charge gamers to watch the streams, and then also still watch ads. That's not gonna be the case now. Um, they came out here. There's a blog about it here. I'm gonna kind of skim through some of it. Um, so this came out April 6th. So E3 is going to take place between June 12th and June 15th. They have early commitments from Nintendo, Xbox, Konami, Capcom, Ubisoft, Take-Two Interactive, Warner Brothers Games, Koch Media, who was formerly the THQ Nordic people.
Yes.
And there's going to be more to come in there. So we have no idea about as far as when we're going to have, if we're going to have if Capcom or Konami or all these or Ubisoft or Take Two or whatever are going to have their own event. I know Square Enix is supposed. They said they're going to do their Square Enix is going to have an event in the summertime, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be part of E3. Ubisoft has their own thing now, but
Yes.
it sounds like Xbox is going to have an old their press conference like they did before. But what's going to be interesting is this is from Jeff Grubb again, that he was saying that it sounds like right now that Xbox is going to do like a their own event, and then they're going to end with a big with the Bethesda announcement, and then it's going to lead into a Bethesda event essentially.
Interesting. So
So
it's going to be two conferences, one after another.
basically, it might still be the same conference, but they're going to have it's going to be its own separate section essentially
Interesting.
Bethesda. So God knows if it's going to be an hour or how it's going to work out,
God,
but
it's probably like a 3 hour conference, dude.
yeah, that's what I was worried about. Because but Mike always complaint has been like, Microsoft always like, oh, we have 80 games that we have the biggest E3 press conference ever. But it's like, well, the problem is you announce 80 games, but I don't remember 78 of them afterwards, and the
Yep.
two that I do remember, I don't give a fuck about. So that's always
That's
been their issue. Is
like,
like I always thought like PlayStation, Nintendo, like PlayStation. That one year they had like 2019 or I think it was 2018. They had 4 games, 6 games at their press conference, and it was way better than Xbox. It had 75. So it's just like sometimes it's quantity over quality sometimes, kids. Um,
yes.
so anyways, um, I'm happy about this. We've kind of gone back and forth over the last year or so about what would we rather have a summer game mess, summer games fest, where we just everybody just did their own. It was just chaos. Everybody just did their own fucking thing. You know, it's like the world's ending. We're just E3's dead. Everybody just do their own fucking scatter and do their own goddamn thing, and it was just like chaos. And it's like,
Yep.
what event matters? Who the fuck are you? Why am I seeing this game 10 different times? Why is this game at every? Why is Skater XL at every fucking event? Why is this Doom music game at every fucking event? Why is this Penguin riding a skateboard game at every fucking event? Like it was just exhausting. Like we're trying to watch all these, and then I'm like 90% of these don't fucking matter. Um, so I'm excited about this. The idea of like, I've said before I don't need E3, but I would just like and like Phil Spencer came out and he said about like this is all about us working as as the developers and all the studios coming together. We need to be together on this. Um, and I'm all for that. I love that. Now that was my big thing like
I
last year
agree.
about with Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest or Jeff Grubb's Summer Game Mess, where it's like we just need they all just need to make like get a fucking Google Calendar and like all right we're gonna pick this date. All right Nintendo's already got a thing on that date. All right well we're gonna go this date so nobody else can do that or plan
Right.
accordingly. Like just we don't need E3. That's fine. Fuck it. We don't care. I think for the for the media and getting the hands-on impressions like that's awesome. I love hearing about that stuff. But I think for us, we just care about the press conferences and the big game
We care about the
announcements.
games.
Yeah, and the game. We just care. We just want to see them and all that shit. So I love the idea of E3 being a thing, but if we can just work together and like, I would rather just you be all combined into whether it's a month, but like working together or a week or a weekend, like it's been like just work it out and figure it out and give me the dates, like well in advance. Like I just that's all I want. And I just in that way we don't have to like, we don't have 9 months of Nintendo being quiet. It's like okay, what the fuck's going on? Like why have we had a
Hmm.
direct in a year and a half and all that? It's like
Exactly.
you know,
That subsequently confirmed that Nintendo is going to be having some form of a direct at least a couple months from now. So that's exciting.
and continuing on from Jeff Grubb, he did say he doesn't know what it's going to be. He always calls Nintendo the wild card, which
Yep.
going into our next topic here, that makes sense. But he's always called them like he doesn't like he always knows something's coming, but he doesn't know when it's coming. Like he called the Mario Direct that we had for 35 last year. He's like, it's coming. Pikmin 3's coming. This game's coming. He always talks about it. He's like, I don't know when it's gonna happen. And like he literally the day before our next topic, Pac-Man 99 got announced, he literally just tweeted wild card, and it's like everybody's like, okay, Nintendo's gonna announce something soon, and then Pac-Man. So he's really good. Anyway, he's really good. But he said expect something between now and E3. He doesn't know what it's going to be.
Interesting.
He doesn't know how big it's going to be, but there's going to be something. In the next couple months, we're going to have something else from Nintendo. Who knows what it's going to be?
Ooh.
I mean, don't. I mean, I'm saying like it could be a fucking Indies. He said for all he knows, but it could be something more. But anyways, um, could be the Switch Pro. I mean, usually those don't get announced at directs. They get announced in a Wall Street Journal thing. That's how the Switch Lite was announced. Was Wall Street Journal or something like that. Um, but yeah, anyways, I'm all for this. It's gonna be awesome. I mean, you kind of in that same boat for E3
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. Honestly, 2020 it was what it was in regards to announcements and the whole
in general.
month in general. But I'm glad to see the solidarity between a lot of the game developers, the gaming companies, coming together to do E3 as it traditionally which was announcing games, seeing what type of collaborative projects are going to be going through, and quintessentially seeing what's going to be happening the next 6 months to a year or even further away. So I'm interested in seeing what's going to be announced, what may potentially be rumored, because I really want to see if, and quite honestly, Nintendo is definitely the wild card in all of this because they have the power to not only rev up a lot of long term fans with something incredible, or they could just go out with a wet fart in regard to something incredibly minor. That's just how they
Skyward
are.
Sword.
Well, Skyward Sword, yeah, that one was definitely one of those things.
I'm just gonna keep
Even
shitting
though
on
I'm
Skyward
excited to
Sword.
play it. But with that, with that said and done, it's like I'm most excited, honestly, to see what Nintendo does. I say it almost every year. That's essentially ever since the Switch has come out, I've been excited like every year to see what is going to happen next. Honestly, I kind of feel like Microsoft more so than ever now. I'm kind of excited to see what they're doing because of how well they've done in terms of rounding up how many companies and how many different things that they're going to plan out. So seeing their scape for the next 6 months, or next couple of years. Even the same thing with PlayStation, it's like all the companies, like you were saying, at the start of this generation, they felt like they were on even terms in regards to potential launch stuff, even though there have been hiccups with every single one of them through COVID, obviously, has played a big role with that too. But this is the first time in a long time, Tyler, I have not heard any types of major rumors going into this potential E3 type of event. I've only heard maybe Nintendo Switch like Pro rumors. That's
Yeah,
been
but
going on the last couple
that
of
stuff
years.
that stuff we don't really hear too much about until like I feel like Mayish. And but even still, like 50% of that shit's usually bullshit.
Yeah,
But it's like I feel like maybe in May ish, in about a month, which it's crazy to think it's already April 11th right now, because it's past midnight at my time.
yeah,
Um, but it's crazy to think that that's only a few weeks away. But yeah, I mean, I think once we get there, we can start hearing some more shit. Uh, I'm just thinking like going back to Sony here, it's like and PlayStation, it's like what's gonna happen with them? Like I said, they've been really quiet lately, and it's like they quietly like the only thing they've publicly announced, like as far as delays goes, is Returnal got pushed back like 5 weeks to April
yep,
30th. Gran Turismo got pushed from a first half of 2021 game to next year sometime.
yep,
Uh, Ratchet and Clank was supposed to be a launch window game, and
yep,
then quietly, without no nothing, it got moved to June 11th or 10th, I want to
yeah.
say. Um, so I'm like, I feel like they're gonna have to do something, a state of play or something bigger sooner
You
rather
would
than
think,
later
right?
because Horizon's supposed to be going on. Like Horizon, God of War is supposed to happen this year. I'm just hoping we get one of those two this year at the very least.
I
Um,
know. With something that was projected this year as being kind of like a heavy type of thing for the PS5, trying to showcase its things, is kind of almost grown similar to what the Xbox with the Series X has been inside of its 6 months, where it's like we don't have hardly any. They don't have people who invested inside of the Series X haven't hardly had any type of exclusive games to play on it besides the medium in that
yeah.
regards, and also like MLB
But they're getting
stuff coming
MLB
up.
the show for free and
Yeah,
Outrider.
that's coming.
Well,
Yes.
Game Pass, but yeah, I mean, but they're just they're you were mentioning momentum earlier, and I think that was
Yes.
a perfect way where we're like Xbox is just fucking hauling ass right now, pushing that rock. They have all the
Yes.
momentum, and we're just seeing PlayStation. They've been hauling ass for the last 5, 6 years, 8 years now, and it's
And
like
now
now
their momentum is starting to
yeah,
shift.
they're starting to they're getting tired. They're kind of getting gassed here. So,
It's
um,
like now it's like almost neck to neck.
yeah, and yeah, exactly. Um, and it's just like yeah, like the next year is gonna be fantastic for PlayStation. But like what's second half 2022 and beyond gonna look like? But we need to move on because we're almost 2 hours into this. Pac-Man 99, Gables. I don't. I mean, the rubbles of Mario, the ashes of Mario got turned into Pac-Man pellets, and now we have Pac-Man. We have Pac-Man 99, basically Tetris 99. I don't give two fucks about Pac-Man, but it's out now. It's a thing. Um, I guess you would have said if you played it, but I mean, have any interest in this?
honestly, I do like Pac-Man, and I'm willing to try it out when I get a chance to. But I thought that there were some interesting things about the announcement because I'm looking at Pac-Man. It's like, okay, Pac-Man 99. What the hell is this all about? I look at the trailer with 98 other people. It's basically a battle royale with Pac-Man,
Mm-hmm.
and you can also invest inside of a single player thing. It's quintessentially Tetris 99, but instead of just having Tetris and its single player being bought separately, it's quintessentially just Pac-Man with a lot of other types of hidden stuff where you can buy skins to make it look like Gradius or Dig Dug characters or whatever Namco type of affiliated stuff. But you know what? It is what it is, though. I mean, it may not be as big of an announcement as what some people may have, but it's kind of interesting to see what type of direction they actually went with this classic arcade game.
Yeah, it's just like you took away Mario 35, so you kind of need to replace with something else, and I think this is what it is. And I think it's better than nothing. I think there's definitely I feel like there's gonna be some buzz around it, but I don't think this is gonna be even Mario 35 that came out. It seemed like everybody enjoyed it a lot for a couple weeks, and I know there was still an audience behind it, but the buzz subsided real fast, and I feel like the buzz behind Pac-Man 99 is already kind of gone, come and gone. That game came out
Yeah,
Thursday, and it's Saturday night, so. Um, we'll see. And then yeah, there's all the you got to pay for game modes and skins and all that. I mean, it's free download, but yeah,
right.
I don't know. Maybe it'll take off a bit. But like I know Tetris 99 still got some people playing it, but it's, well, I think most of us don't know it's there anymore. But Gables, we've gone on very long, so it's time for us to get the fuck out of here. So if you guys have been listening to us this first time, check us out in all the places. Look up Drunk Nerds Podcast, Drunk Nerds. Like, subscribe, uh, thumbs up, share, tell your friends, comments. We're on everything: Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, um, everything. Yeah, Spotify, we're on them. Wherever podcasts go, we're on it. We've been streaming a little more often, video game wise. I want to try to figure out something. Maybe you and I, Gables, can stream more regularly
Yeah,
on our channel, so we can kind of keep that momentum going. Maybe we can finally jump into Scott Pilgrim versus the World,
yeah,
um,
that'd be interesting.
and play through that. And you can carry me through it. But we're working on that. We're trying to figure some shit out with that. But Gables, I was host. I was Tyler.
And I have been Colonel Gables. Until next time, everyone, play some fun games. Take a time out of your life just to stop and smell the roses.
Hmm.
And most importantly of all, thank you for listening to another fun-filled episode of the Drunk Nerds podcast.
And Gables,
Yep.
always remember, to you children out there, your tears are mine. Bye, guys.
See ya.